is Ray, love and peace. I want to talk about today consistency and the burning fire. Consistency and the burning fire. You have to be consistent every day. You have to work on enforcing, on continuously feeding the desire that you want to manifest in your life. You have to keep feeding the changes that you're hoping to have or come into or allow into your life within the next moment, whether it's the next second, whether it's the next year. You have to continuously do it. And you have to keep doing it until you manifest or you'll bring about the results that you want. There is really no other way. There are a lot of people out there who try to use energy transmutation in a form that is incorrect. But what happens is that backfires on them, and it causes some really negative karma for them. The true way to accomplish what you want is through repetition, through synchronicity. You want to be consistent with the burning desire of what you want to, again, allow or manifest into your life. So if you want to have financial freedom, let's talk for real here. Most of us spend the majority of our lives, a huge chunk of our lives, dealing with how we're going to pay for this, worrying about money, worrying about, you know, how we're gonna get the money to buy food or whatnot. We deal with that a lot. Or if we don't deal with that and we just barely get by, a lot of us just barely get by. And so, or if we do well, we take care of all our bills, and maybe we have a little bit to go out and have fun, and we're content with that. But that's not enough. That's not enough. You should never have to settle for that. Our lives were never meant to be like that. Our lives our true lives we're supposed to be abundant. Our true divine selves within us is part of all creation. That means everything that existed or that exists now belongs to us. And that's the thing too. I want to make clear. Everything already exists. The only reason why something does not seem to exist or appears to not exist is because you have not allowed it into your perception. You have not allowed it into your bubble, into your world. So therefore it does not exist. But someone else is living that reality. Someone else is living it right now because they believe. So many of us desire and hope for the same thing. We desire to be in love. We desire to have perfect health. We desire to be financially free, and we desire to be able to do what we were meant to do in this world. And so these are the most basic and common desires that we all have in common. And the reason why we all have them in common is because we are all one. We are all just trying to do our parts, okay, of the same job, because it's really the same job. To shine our lights, to help each other awaken to our full self, so that our whole self can awaken. The law of oneness, look that up. So you gotta make sure that you have the burning desire. You have to be consistent every day. Find a way to feed your desire. You have to be so tough on yourself when it comes to this. You have to be tough, meaning in the form of disciplinary. You have to be disciplined. You don't want to be negative to yourself. You don't want to treat yourself shitty, but you want to be disciplined. You want to discipline yourself. You want to be able to do the work that needs to be done within yourself. Don't worry so much about the work outside of you. The most important job that you have right now, it's not sitting down wishing and hoping that because you have some bit of knowledge or understanding of these universal laws, that's enough. No, you You can be sitting and you could be standing and not doing anything in the physical, but in the mind, in the spiritual, you got to be doing the greater amount of work there. That's where the greater amount of work, the work within, will overflow outside of you, and the mirror reflection of who and what you are will show outside, and the things that you're allowing, you attract into your life will be a byproduct of who and what you've become. This is truth. There's no other way of doing it. This is the way that the law works, the law of flow. This is the success mindset. This is what the 3% of the population on earth, how they think, the entrepreneurs, the philanthropists, and this is why they rule the world. And, you gotta understand that you can do it too. You can do this too. But it takes a reprogramming of your paradigms, which are your belief systems, which are your habits, which come to us based off how we grew up, our environment, friends, family, circumstances, and situations. But it doesn't mean that you have to be a victim of that. It does not mean that you have to continuously allow the outside reality dictate who and what you should be. So maybe you're a person who lives in the hood. Does that dictate that you have to be, a criminal or uneducated? What is education to some person is totally different than someone else. You could be living in the craziest place in the world, but you still have one thing you have control over, is your mind. And changing your perception of your mind, you can change the reality that will reflect from within to the outside world. There was a great story of a man who was in prison, in one of the toughest prisons. I believe it was in either Siberia or Russia, and he was considered a muscle man, and all he did was always try to bend these bars to escape, because there was really no prison considered like what we have over here. It was like some big prison up in a wall or something like that, like a tower, and just had bars, and birds used to come in, and sometimes they fed them, sometimes nobody came to feed them for weeks or months. And so finally, every day he would imagine living in America. He never lived in America. He would always imagine being married to an American woman, and imagining certain, walking down, Fifth Avenue and all these different things. So he would imagine all these little different things. Did that for years. And every day he was trying to bend these bars. Of course, they're steel bars. He couldn't bend them. But, what most people don't realize, that muscle against muscle builds a lot of great true strength. That's isometrics, calisthenics. That's why you see some of these guys in prison. They're like amazing. Okay? And so he became really strong. And one day he really did. His body followed what his mind always said. He bent those bars. He climbed out the wall, escaped, got into a train, met some friends across the border, and was able to get enough funding to get to America. Got to America, met this successful man, invited him out to his home, went to his home, drove down the streets that he said in his mind he never saw, but he saw in pictures, but he imagined them, and they looked exactly what he saw. So it was like deja vu for him. And then but long story short, the man ends up marrying an American woman, having a good life, and being very successful in America. He did all of this despite that he was in prison. He couldn't control that he was in prison. He couldn't control this outside circumstance, but he could control what he was thinking, what he desired, what he wanted in his mind. He commanded by holding true, by holding fast, by being persistent and feeding the fire for as long as it took. He demanded the reality to come forth, but by law it had no choice to do that. He didn't look at the years. He didn't look at how old he was. He didn't look at how smart he was. He didn't think of any of that. All he did was imagined, which is what we call visualization. And he believed and he felt it. He had no other choice. But you don't have to be in that situation where you have no other choice. Some people do. And a lot of times, those are the ones that achieve greatness. But you can start from where you are right now with what you know right now, with whatever money or education you have right now, and you can start feeding your mind. Create vision boards. Become clear on what you want. Start visualizing. Use affirmations. Use the mirror technique. Start speaking to yourself, to your conscious, subconscious. Speak to yourself. I can be what I will to be. I accept nothing but the best. I am the prize. You can start proclaiming these things. Speak in the form of someone hypnotizing themselves in a nice, calm, subtle voice. Kind of like you're not trying to convince yourself, but you're just reassuring that which is true. I can be what I will to be. There is no trying to convince. It is true. And you speak like that to yourself. You convey that information. You demand that to yourself. For however how long it takes. And you be stern about it. And you stand on that path, and you do not go left and you do not go right. You just keep going. But that takes consistency in the fire, meaning your desire, your want, until you achieve it. Until next time, it is Ray. As always, love and peace.